And yeah, so welcome everyone. We are very, very honored and pleased that even though sometimes there are only a few of us in this class, that over 100 people in some cases are watching our videos. So that speaks to what it is we are doing. We ask you to continue to subscribe and to share our YouTube channel. Welcome, Brother Windhawk. Welcome, Brother Benny. Welcome, PC. I believe Sister Portia, isn't it? Sister Portia. Welcome, Brother Pigeon, and welcome to myself. As usual, as I was saying, our values are respect and support, and that this is a safe space. Oh, Sister Nancy is joining us. Then, in terms of our values, in terms of our modus operandi, we read. Any one of us reads, and then we go around and we share our thinking. We are not so much interested in opinions and feelings as much as thinking. So we are interested in how you think about what it is that we have read. And so we shall proceed with someone reading for us. It could be anybody. And then we share our thinking. In sharing our thinking, we try and well, we don't try. We do our utmost best to listen to a female voice followed by a male voice. When we say female and male in this class, we mean the male and female as perceived from the African context. Yeah. So with respect to everyone, we respect everyone's values, but we are operating from the point of view of African values, where a male is a male and a female is a female. But we don't frown on anyone else's values, but just so that is clear. So we hear a female voice and then we hear a male voice. That's what we do here. Right. So let us proceed. Once again, welcome everyone. Welcome, Sister Nancy. My name is Christian Kwame Akpotsa, and I am like a resource person for this class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So let's read. We on the screen is highlighted in yellow what we are reading for today. So let me. First, sometimes we ask for volunteers, but we can also nominate someone to read.
Brother Kwame, I like reading. It's Portia. So
you were saying?
Brother, well, Prof. Kwame, I was going to joke with you and say, to challenge you, what's the difference between an opinion and thinking? And then perhaps you could say female and male. Perhaps you could say female and male biologically from the African values.
Right. Thank you very much for that. So the difference between opinion and thinking in this sense in which we are describing it here is, I suppose, because of my bias mathematically, it is to say thinking is that 1 and 1 is 2. So my thinking is that 1 and 1 is 2. So that thinking is anchored in the text. My opinion is that it depends on what you mean by 1. It depends on what you mean by 1. So 1 plus 1 can equal 3. If by 1 I mean 1.5, and if by 1 you mean a half, then 1.5 plus a half is 1. It's 2. Am I making sense? So that is where opinion comes in. This is what I opine. And the thing is, if you have 1 million people, you have 1 million opinions. But 1 plus 1 is 2. It doesn't anchor in opinion. It's a cultural fact. I wouldn't say a natural fact, because 1 and 1 they are natural. They are social objects or cultural objects. I hope that is clear, Sister Portia. Thank you. And then, as Sister Portia reminded me, when I say male voice and female voice, to be more precise, I mean as understood in the African context, male and female biologically. I didn't want to say as registered on your passport, because not all of us have passports, but as understood in the African context. In the African context, male and female are clear. So it is in that sense. Thank you. So who is going to read for us? I was saying that we ask for volunteers, but we can also nominate people to read. And our sisters have read for us, as far as I can remember, in the last few readings that I remember. So I think it would be right to ask the gentleman to also step up. So we've got General. Has General ever read for us? General, have you ever read for us? You don't have to answer that question, General. Then we have Pigeon. You may answer if you want, brother. General, you may answer if you want. You don't have to.
No, my I would have read now, but the thing is, I'm driving to the farm now.
No problem. I was just wondering, have you ever read for us? I'm just thinking aloud.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Then we have Brother Pigeon. Then we have Brother Benny. Then we have myself. I have myself read in the past. So shall we say I'll read the first paragraph, and then Brother Benny will read the second paragraph? Or maybe Brother Benny and Brother Pigeon will share the second paragraph. Is that okay? So here we go. I'll read the first paragraph. Thank you. Whereas capitalism is a development by refinement from slavery and feudalism, socialism does not contain the fundamental ingredient of capitalism, the principle of exploitation. Socialism stands for the negation of that very principle, which links, wherein, let me go back. Socialism stands for the negation of that very principle, wherein capitalism has its being, lives and thrives. That principle which links capitalism with slavery and feudalism. Can Pigeon continue? Or Benny, would you like to continue?
If Pigeon is there, let him continue, please.
I have nominated.
I want to hear his voice.
I have nominated you, but it's okay. Pigeon, okay. Brother Benny wants to hear your voice. So please.
Brother Benny can hear my voice, but Sister Portia wanted to read for us initially. If we can allow her to read. Sister Portia wanted to read for us initially.
Sister Portia will read another time. Sister Portia read for us last week.
Okay, let me read them.
So we can't, we shouldn't discriminate against others, yeah? Should give everyone a fair chance. Thank you.
Now, if one seeks the socio-political ancestor of socialism, one must go to communalism. Socialism has characteristics in common with communalism, just as capitalism is linked with feudalism and slavery. In socialism, the principles underlying communalism are given expression in modern circumstances.
Thank you. PG, can you stop there? Benny, continue for us, please.
Thus, whereas communism in
communalism, not communism.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Brother Kwame.
It's okay.
Let me start again. Thus, whereas communalism in an untechnical society can be laissez-faire in a technical society where sophisticated means of production are at hand. If the underlying principles of communalism are not given centralized and correlated expression, class cleavages arise, which are the result of economic disparities and accompanying political inequalities.
Thank you. Pause there. Sister Portia, read for us to the end, please.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. I was actually writing. May you tell me where to begin?
Socialism, from where's brother?
Oh,
Benny?
socialism, therefore, sir?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Socialism, therefore, can be and is the defense of the principles of communalism in a modern setting. Socialism is a form of social organization which, guided by the principles underlining, pardon that background noise, guided by the principles underlining communism, adopts procedures and measures made necessary by demographic and technological developments.
Thank you very much for reading for us. Thank you, all of you who have read. Let's now proceed. But first of all, let's look at words that I would like to explore further by themselves before we proceed. So anyone, is there any word you would like us to look at before we proceed? And whilst we are making up our mind which words, let me welcome Sister Amma, Sister Tapua, Brother Sam, Sister Ida, and General into the class. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate the fact that you have decided to use, as all of us, by the way, have decided to use our scarce time resources to come here and engage in this philosophical ideological class. And I know we all do that knowing our immense contribution to the revolution, the African revolution, because people are going to our YouTube, listening to our discussion and being educated. So thank you so much for advancing the African cause. Right, so coming back then to the words, are there any words there that we would like to explore? If there aren't any, we shall proceed straight to sharing our thinking. Yeah. Okay. So let's proceed. Yes.
Good evening. Laissez faire.
Right. Okay. So one word we've been asked to look at is laissez faire. Anyone understands that? Anyone wants to explore what that means? Laissez faire. And we know it's a French word. We know it's a French word. Laissez faire. Laissez faire. What is that?
You just kind of let things go as they will go. You're not active in them. What will happen, sort of like that.
Right. Laissez faire. Okay. What will happen will happen. Okay. So, okay. According to the dictionary, the French dictionary, laissez faire is French. As Sister Portia said, it's let do, leave it alone, and as Sister Portia said, let it run its own course. We'll come to what it means in a moment, in reality, in a moment. But let's just look at the word itself. So, brother Sam, it means let alone, leave it alone, let it run. Its natural course. That's what it means. And in terms of economics, it means it just means minimal government. So a laissez-faire society is a society in which there should be. They're not saying there should be no government at all, but there should be minimal government. And we'll come to why that is in a moment. But that's what the word means. Is there any other word? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm interested on the word, especially on differences between the word communalism and communism.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the difference. So the word communalism, the core idea is that you're organizing life around the community. Communalism. The village, the clan, the extended family, and it has its origins in the ancient and traditional societies in Africa, Asia, and indigenous societies, as you know. All groups, ethnic groups have their origin in the African village, as you know. That's all we all started. Whether we are Chinese, whether we are Caucasians, wherever we are, all of us, we started, our origin lies in the African village, the African clan, the African extended family. So that's what communalism is. Communism is a theory and political project. Its core aim is to abolish class divisions. So that's what it is. It has its origins in Marx and Engels in 19th century Europe. And you could argue that they want to copy us. They want to copy the African society in which there are no class divisions. Let's not confuse class divisions with hierarchy. Having a hierarchy doesn't necessarily mean that there are class divisions. It doesn't also mean that some people are not human beings. You can have hierarchy based on the idea that some people are not human beings. Yeah. You can also have a hierarchy based on the idea simply that there should be division of labor. And that hierarchy doesn't have to be vertical. It can also be horizontal. So now when we look at hierarchy, we think in terms of a vertical structure, but it can be concentric. Yeah, in that sense. So for example, in the African sense, a chief is not a higher human being than the people. Yeah, a chief is just one of us that we have appointed to play a certain ceremonial role. Sometimes non-ceremonial role. It doesn't mean the chief is a better human being than us, the rest of us, or the chief is divine, and all that kind of nonsense. So the idea that some people have divine right to rule others and all that nonsense. The African perspective does not accept all that nonsense. Yeah, so I hope that explains it, Brother Pigeon. So communalism, organized society around the community. Communalism, organized society around the community. Communism is a project, it's a theory and political project to abolish class divisions. Yeah, so there's no serf in European, so there's no the feudalist and the serf and all that, to abolish those divisions. So that's what it is. Thank you. Any other word you want us to look at, brothers and sisters? Oh, by the way, if you want to add anything to what I've said, please feel free to do so. Thank you. Any other word that we want to look at? Yes, Sister Nancy, you want to add? Yeah, I know you're always you are very erudite, if you might say. So please.
Oh, I have a question for you. I don't have the answer to the question.
Sister Nancy, I know you know the answer already to the question.
I don't. I'm trying to understand. So, okay,
Yes.
it sounds like you're suggesting that communalism is unique to Africa.
No. I'm not
Okay,
suggesting that
so
at all.
that was my question. I'm
that
wondering
that
if
is why I said
communalism is just part of the human experience universally.
Yes.
As okay, then we're on
that's
the
what I
same page.
meant by
Okay.
all of them have their root in the African village, so it's a universal thing. That's what I meant. But they all, so wherever you go, that's where it all starts from. The root is in the African village. So when they've moved out, they've universalized it. So yeah. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so I guess my understanding is that I guess it has a class basis, an economic basis, that when I guess before people began, I guess, production of food, when people were still in this stage of hunting and gathering, and I think at that point, this was like a universal situation. I think it was the introduction of wherever in the world it happened, agriculture is the point at which there became economic surplus, and then kind of created conditions for trading and this kind of class divisions. So I mean, I'm wondering if this was dependent on Africa or if this was everywhere where people were in the world. So that, I think that was my question. The whole question of private property had an origin, and there was a time before it existed universally.
So the points you have raised are so fundamental, and I suppose when we come to sharing our thinking, please share these with us, because you are prefiguring our shared thinking, or what we should be thinking. So thank you for that. So when it comes to your turn, please share your thinking on that. So because you've gone beyond not just the word, but you have gone beyond that and to explain is the universalism, its origin in the agricultural revolution, and so on. One of the criticisms of capitalism, as you know, is that it is not just exploitation on account of class. It's also exploitation on account of sex. You see, that the productive work of women, for instance, in terms of raising the next generation, that is all discounted, not paid for. And the environment in which the capitalist firm operates, it's damage to the environment. It's all externalized. They're not taken into account, and so on and so forth. So yes, please, when it gets to your turn, share these with us. Right? Any other words we want to look at? The time is just gone 6:30. Any other words? Yeah, if there aren't, then let's proceed with sharing our thinking. I will start with the economist, Brother Coco. Thank you. Let me check the chat. You see anyone who says they can't chat? Sister Amma. If it's Amma, you always can't speak, but we need you to speak, please. Your contribution is vital, yeah, for us. We need to hear your thoughts, your thinking. So I appreciate you can't speak, but it looks like you always can't speak. Please, Sister Awa, if you can, just whenever you can, please speak, because we want to hear your voice, yeah, your thoughts. They are so evaluative and so sometimes we're always spot on. Thank you. Yes, so perhaps Sister Ama, who says she can't talk because of where she is, I'm sure nobody else has said they can't talk. So let's hear from Brother Coco. Thank you. Coco doesn't seem to be ready. So let's go to Sister Tapua, please.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Now, please. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Sorry, what did you say? I didn't catch that.
I will pass for now. I'll contribute later. Thank you.
You'll come in later. No problem. Thank you. Let's hear from Brother Pigeon, please. Thank you.
Yes, Brother Kwame, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Now, I'll start by the first paragraph that gives the differences. I think there are fundamental differences between capitalism and socialism. And it's very clear that not today we talk about capitalism. Some Africans are proudly saying, I'm a capitalist. I support capitalism. And those kinds of opinions that people give, or whether thinking or stand that they give. But I think if somebody can be able to go deep to understand what Nkrumah said, that capitalism is actually a refinement from slavery and feudalism, I don't think any African in any form will be willing still to be proud to say that they are capitalist or that they support capitalism. Because we know,
Pigeon, if I may interject, you are assuming there that there are Africans who object to slavery or who object to feudalism. There are Africans, as we know from history. For example, the Islamic conquering of Africa has gone hand in hand with feudalism. And also, Africans did participate in slavery. So please bear that in mind as you share. Thank you.
Yeah, I can say that the material condition, which we don't know, since we were not there when such slavery act was, or enslavement was done to our ancestors, might have in one way either caused such. I was sharing the book today, The Jacobins. If you remember the book I was sharing, The Jacobins. And it says that it is not that we were enslaved willingly, that our ancestors willingly were enslaved, but there were some elements of resistance and such format. So, but I'm not interested. I don't want to look deep at what happened during enslavement and the period of so. But if we know the fundamental,
can you hold on, please? May I interject again? So, the issue is not whether anyone has been enslaved willingly or unwillingly. The issue that you first raised is, I was just pointing out to you, is that knowing about the horrors of feudalism or enslavement is not an argument that an African would not subscribe to it. That's the point I'm making. In the United States of America, where enslavement was pervasive, there is evidence that Africans also had slaves in the Americas. So that's the point I'm raising. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, permit me to proceed. But Nkrumah is trying to do.
Pigeon.
Yes.
The interjection and your responding are part of the class. So your contribution and my interjection are part of the same thing. So when you say allow me to proceed, it sounds like you are pushing back on my interjection. Although I don't think that is what you meant. But I just thought I'll point that out to you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. That's not what I meant. Now, if I proceed, and thank you for that interjection and pointing out that it's not all Africans who are against enslavement or slavery, and that also points out. But I think the element that slavery and feudalism are elements of, or are just old models of capitalism, is something that has been silent amongst many people. Many people tend to see them as different things, but I think that is what Nkrumah is trying to draw to, so that we can then be able to know and link that indeed capitalism is just some advancement or refinement of slavery and feudalism. And that's one thing I wanted to point out as well, what I'm learning from that, because you see, but I think we need to go deeper, as he says here a bit, but let me just go to the other part of socialism. And he says that socialism does not contain the fundamental ingredients of capitalism. And that ingredient, which I think is very important here, is exploitation, the principle of exploitation. So capitalism then exploits for whatever reasons all of us know. But socialism does not go to that principle of exploitation. I think that is very important for us to know. So when people object socialism, or rather people support capitalism, they must bear in mind that key principle of exploitation. And where do they stand with that key principle of exploitation? Then the author here, Kwame Nkrumah, goes ahead and says that socialism stands for the negation at the very principle wherein capitalism has its being. So capitalism survives, thrives on exploitation. I think that's one thing that maybe the key message that wanted to come out in this paragraph that I'm getting from this first paragraph, that the core, the heartbeat of capitalism is exploitation. And that is not what socialism is all about. So in the second paragraph, of course, I'm trying to see how now Nkrumah is trying to link socialism to communalism. And now many people tend to confuse both. And I think that's very important ideological clarification to most of us who either say I'm a communalist, I'm a socialist, or whatever. I support socialism, I support communalism. But Nkrumah is trying to draw to our attention that there's no difference between communalism and socialism. And that is trying to say that actually socialism is a modern communalism. And therefore, if one says that I'm a communalist, but I'm not a socialist, I'm not a socialist, I don't support socialism, I support communalism. Just Nkrumah is trying also to draw to our attention how then we link socialism to communalism. When he talks about the all elements.
Sorry, Pigeon, can I interject there? So in terms of what you've said, what would you say is the difference in your thinking between socialism and communalism? What is to you is the essential difference from what you've said? Thanks.
But I think Nkrumah points it that I'm learning out of it, because you see, I didn't even know also the difference between communalism and socialism. You see, but Nkrumah is doing to attention on this sophisticated means of production at hand. And he says it very clearly that if the underlying principles of communalism are not given centralized and correlated expression, especially on class cleavage arises, which then becomes the result of economic disparity. So I think the key thing that Nkrumah is bringing here is that socialism then can be and is the defense of principle of communalism in modern setting, which is said that socialism is a form of social organization which is guided the principle underlying communism and the process necessary. So I think
hold on. So just so we are all clear, in your thinking, sharing your thinking, what is the difference? Because there is a difference. What is the difference, as far as you can see or you can think, between socialism and communalism? From the reading.
I think that French word laissez-faire is the difference.
Okay, so but you remember that Sam raised the question of laissez-faire, and we looked at what the word means. Sister Portia gave us an interpretation, which I also buttressed, and I said we will come to it later. Now, so let's deal with that, so we all get clarity. So laissez-faire basically means that let the economic system run its own course without government intervention. Now let's step back and ask ourselves, is it possible in any society for an economic system to just come into being and run by itself without human involvement? I mean, is an economic system a natural system? Because that is what capitalism keeps pretending it is. Capitalism keeps telling us that it is the best system, is the only system. Why? Because it is natural. The question is capitalism natural? Because the heart of a capitalist society is this used to be before, not now. It used to be laissez-faire. And those of you who know about free trade and all that, that's all laissez-faire. You know, let people trade freely, etc., etc. No tariffs on goods and services. All that is part of laissez-faire. Let the factory owner organize a factory. Don't get involved in whether the machines are killing people. Don't get involved in whether or not people are dying in the factory. Laissez-faire. Let the manufacturer make his or her own decisions. Yeah. If ship owners go and create ships, and as part of free trade, they go and buy enslaved human beings and transport it to another world, that is all part of laissez-faire. Don't interfere in all that. Yeah. Let the system run its course. So it is crazy for a system to then set aside ships and say that we are going to stop the trade in enslavement, you know, and tell its navy to go around. If you see any ship, stop them and check if they have slaves, and if they have enslaved people in there, confiscate these and do that. Now that sort of behavior is interfering in free trade. Okay, and then in society, as I've said, let people make their own decisions. If they want to work in a factory that kills people, that is their decision to make. It's not for you, the government, to get involved and setting minimum standards, etc., etc., etc. That's what laissez-faire is. The question I'm asking us is that natural? Is that economic system a natural system? The argument is that it is natural. Why? It's natural, they argue, because greed is good. Okay? Why is greed good? According to this theory. Brother Coco is here. His internet is not stable, so he can contribute if he wants to this. Why is greed good? According to the theory, greed is good because of this. Because I am greedy, I'll set up a bakery. When I set up a bakery, I'm only interested in my greed. My greed is what? To make profit. So that is why I set up the bakery. In the bakery, I'm going to bake bread. Okay? The reason I'm baking bread is not because I want to feed children. I want to feed starving children. I want to help families to have bread in the morning. That's not why I'm setting up the bakery. Okay? That's not, I'm setting up the bakery simply because I'm a greedy person and I want profit. When I sell that bread, I'll make a profit. And with that profit, I look after my family. I invest that money, any surplus, in a bigger bakery, and then suddenly, if there's not enough demand in my community, I set up a shop in the next town, and then the next town, and the next town, and then maybe if my country is the country that I'm operating in as a baker, if it can't buy all my bread, then I become an imperialist. I then cross over to another society, and I colonize them. Then I make them buy my bread, etc., etc., etc. I'm talking about laissez-faire, brothers and sisters. That's laissez-faire for you. The question I'm asking, is it natural? So the response I've given should tell us that communalism cannot be laissez-faire. If I am because we are, and if we are because I am, then how can it be laissez-faire? Because in a communist society, we will not let you kill somebody else for their land. We will not let you cross over to somebody's land, take over their land, make that family your workers. We will not in a communist society, we won't let you do that. So it can't be laissez-faire. So I'll come back to the question again, Brother Pigeon. What do you see as the essential difference? We can come back to you if you want. If you want to answer it, that's fine. What, according to what we are reading, is the essential difference between communalism and socialism?
But Kwame, I'll just say it control. Control is the difference, but I can expound it later. Maybe
yeah,
after the members share their thing.
Yeah, please do. Oh, sorry, did you say you come back later? Why is control the essential difference?
Now, I've said, as you're saying, when a society is free, as communalism, then modern society demands that freedom of society to move up and down also bring elements of exploitation a bit. When you want to say everybody do what they want the way they want it, you see? So there's then a need for, as you're saying, there's a need for government or a group of some society or community to put some controls so that it doesn't become exploitative, and that freedom is a bit for the interest of the community as well, so that the freedom does not serve an individual interest, but rather the bigger community interest. Because there's that element that if there's no control of freedom or control of freedom within the community, then you can't say that, yes, we are that communal. There's an element of also that individualism within the community must also take into consideration of the community as a whole. That's what I'm thinking. And I think that's what maybe I read sometimes back when Pat was talking in his book somewhere, and how the Republic, I think it's the Republic thing that he was talking about, and how one person says this and another person says this, the need for coming with rules now to regulate how do we say this. So that's what I can say for now. But yes, I'll maybe be coming later to share more.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. You've hit on the nail of the dialectical nail there. Because some societies keep telling us that they are liberal societies. They are liberal societies. But the point you have raised is, how can you be a liberal society unless you are illiberal per se? There is no way you can be a liberal society and say that, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of this, unless you are against the opposite. Yeah. So you are an autocrat or a dictator with respect to the opposite of that. That is the only way in which you can be a liberal society. You have to be illiberal with respect to a certain position. In the same way as you can't have a dictator who is a dictator over him or herself. You see, so you've hit the nail on that contradiction. But let's hear for what others have to say, because is the passage right to say that there has to be centralization? Does it have to be centralized for it to be communalism? When communalism becomes modern, in the modern sense, in a socialist society, does it mean that you can only have a socialist society if the communist society is centralized? By the way, the answer to the question I raised earlier is the difference between socialism and communalism is that socialism lacks technology, modern technology, whereas socialism, at the heart of socialism is production with modern technology. So technology is the key difference. That is the difference. So you notice how Nkrumah puts it. Whereas communalism in an untechnical society can be laissez-faire. In a technical society where sophisticated means of production are at hand, so when an African village, any village at all, somehow has access to modern technology of production, that is what makes that is the basis of it becoming a socialist society. Thank you. Now let's hear from others. The time is 7. So I'm going to go around and hear from others. I'll do this. Yes, please.
Let me help you, Chair, by going around and interject where necessary.
Yes, yes, you do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Now let's go to Sister Nancy. Sister Nancy?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sister Nancy?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please share your thinking on the 2 paragraph or any of the text you've read, please, Sister Nancy.
Okay. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes,
can you hear me okay?
audible.
Okay. All right. So I agree with the last statements that were made regarding the distinction between communalism and socialism, because industrialization and technology are the reason that communalism loses its practicality. And I think the whole concept of laissez faire, which Nkrumah talked about, was connected more to communalism and the way that it could be organized or enforced. It was kind of spontaneous, but it's because people had traditions and they had relationships with their kin and their I guess their tribe, or whatever organization, social organization they had. These relationships were such that they could resolve differences and organize their society, because it was primarily just based on these kind of interactions, like person-to-person interactions, and the quantity of people were not nearly as large as we would conceive of now when we think of nation states. So there wasn't a need for a powerful center like state center, and there wasn't a need for the complexity of I guess a bureaucratic government system to manage the economy. So there were these agreed on social norms, and I think that was what Nkrumah was describing or understood laissez-faire to mean. And we were able to maintain these principles and these ethical principles that were associated with communalism. And I think what Nkrumah is saying also is that that as the populations increased and conditions changed, where you do have industrialization and you have technology, that these mechanisms don't work anymore, that you do need more formal planning, and you do need, I guess, rules and laws that are written and articulated and understood. And this is really a transformation of the means of production, that you no longer have this small scale economic system, and people's relationship to one another, the relations of production are much different and not as direct and not as interpersonal. So I think, communalism lend itself to these communalist principles. But I think Nkrumah saying that we can take these principles from communalism and apply them to a more technologically developed um, uh, uh, condition, human condition, and to eliminate that exploitation that comes with capitalism. So if we see, I think that's why he says that socialism is like an outgrowth of communalism, because it does, even though it has this state planning, it still has the collective ownership, and it still has the conscious kind of redistribution of the wealth of the society, and that is the safeguard from class formation. So I'll stop there, but that's my take on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me interject. So, Sister Nancy.
Yes.
So it appears you are saying that if a communist society embraces modern technology and there is no planning, inequalities can emerge. Is that it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not.
Can emerge.
When you say communal society, I mean, you're talking.
Yeah. So if a communalist society embraces modern technology of production, which if we argue that technology requires workers, then some people will have to be workers. And my question is, so it's possible that economic disparities will emerge within that previously communalist society. Is that fair?
That is fair. I think that this kind of laissez faire communal structure cannot manage the principles of communalism.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So then my next question is, so that being the case, would you say you agree, therefore, with central planning in a socialist society?
Yes.
Okay. So in Ghana, Nkrumah invited all the top economists. I'm trying to remember what year this is. I think it was 1961, maybe. I don't remember the exact year. But Nkrumah invited all the top economists in the world. They came to Ghana, Accra in Ghana, and he put before them his 7-year development plan, at the heart of which was central planning. And none of them objected. So it seems to be in line with what you're saying, that you agree. So then my question to you is, do you then think that the lack of central planning in the capitalist society is a myth?
I'm sorry, you said the lack of central planning in...
Yeah, so in light of what you said, can we say that the argument that capitalist societies don't have central planning is a myth?
I don't agree that capitalist societies don't have central planning. I think they very deliberately plan. It's just that they plan for exploitation, to maximize exploitation.
Thank you.
And they plan to, maintain the privilege of the capitalist class and expand that. So it's not the planning that is the distinction. I think that's what Nkrumah is saying. It's the principles. Okay, the principles that emerge from communalism are what distinguishes socialism as a system that is devoid of exploitation. And on the other hand, out of slavery and feudalism, the principles emerge that support capitalism. So I think that's why he talked about these principles. They have different historic basis, and that's the distinction.
Yeah. So my final point to you then. So you would disagree then, wouldn't you, with the pervasive lack of planning in any African society in Africa today? There's no central planning of anything.
I don't agree with that. I think there's definitely planning. I believe there's central planning
by the state.
I think there's state planning. Of course, there's state planning. The unfortunate thing is in neocolonial conditions that we don't control our planning. And when the plans are designed to meet the needs of humanity instead of the needs of the capitalist class, the government is swiftly overthrown and leaders are killed typically. So, in an imperialist world, imperialism and capitalism dominates the planning of the economies of subjugated nations. It's not that there's no planning, it's just a matter of who's controlling that planning.
So when the World Bank and the IMF tell African government not to plan, and they're actually not telling them the truth.
They do plan. They tell them how to plan. They give them very strict instructions on how to, what to privatize and, what things to sell. There definitely are plans. Again, it's plans that are not designed to meet human needs. It's designed to meet capitalist and imperialist aspirations.
Thank you. Back to you, Brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Brother Coco. Brother Coco, did you say you're not able to speak? Just let me know. If in case you're in a position, also let me know so that you can come in. But if you're not able to speak, also let me know. Brother Coco? Okay. Let's go to Brother Benny. Brother Benny? Brother Benny?
Yeah, I thought those who read would be shelved today. But
maybe until we introduce that rule today, but for today,
you hear me? Oh, okay.
Oh, Brother Coco, why are you speaking? Brother Coco?
I was
Brother
speaking
Benny,
while muted, I guess.
yeah, then take over from me.
Really?
Yeah, Brother Coco, I called you first. Go ahead, Brother Coco, first.
You're so kind, Brother Benny. Thank you, my brother.
No, it was your turn. I couldn't hear you. That's why I moved to Brother Benny. But go ahead, Brother Coco.
Okay, thank you. After Sister Nancy, I find it so hard to add anything because she was so brilliant. She covered the whole thing, the whole lecture in a few minutes. She's covered the whole lot. And all I can add is what Dr. Nkrumah is actually saying here is he is contrasting socialism and capitalism here, trying to show how capitalism is a refinement of slavery and feudalism. He shows or demonstrates that it is inherently exploitative. That is what it is essentially saying there with capitalism. And then he talks about socialism as you could argue coming out of communalism. So what imported from Europe or outside of Africa is inherently an African system, but now more developed, because things have changed now, but it's communalistic in nature, but under a technical environment, which enables the governments to control how we allocate resources, how we allocate the means of production, and how we allocate the surplus, so that we don't create that inequality which happens if communalism is allowed on its own. So just to add to what Sister Nancy has said, communalism, it thrives in a society because we are talking about a community here. Communalism is in the word. It comes from community. There are ties, kinship ties. We know everybody in that community. We know lots of people. So it's informal. And again, to emphasize what Sister Nancy is saying, laissez-faire here, Dr. Nguma is talking about the informal nature in which communalism thrives when it's not regulated. And it's easy because it's on a smaller scale. But once we go larger scale, no longer subsistence farming here, for instance, we go commercial, we need to control that. We need to regulate that. We need central planning of some sort. But what is amazing is that Africans who come from communalistic backgrounds will quickly pick on capitalism and reject socialism. Because again, it comes from indoctrination. It comes from the education system under which we were all taken through. Without allowing us to think, none of them will tell you about socialism, because we were never really taught ourselves that this is the right way. This is the African way of doing things. And we are sort of using propaganda. Capitalism was foisted ahead of socialism. And that is the nature of the African landscape as we speak. And what Kwame has rightly asked there is there no planning? There is planning everywhere. There's planning everywhere. But that planning, as Sister Nancy has rightly said, it depends where it's going. There are 7-year development plans everywhere. Even here in the United Kingdom, we do have a spending review every 4 or 5 years. That spending review is intended on how we spend the money, how we account for the money we spend for the taxpayer, to the taxpayer. It's more or less the same in the United States. But when it comes to harvesting that money, when it comes to collecting the taxes, that's where, again, it's different. The billionaire wants to keep everything that he has. But in a socialist society, we have to pull everything together and then share it equally, so that those who need it the most will get what they need. And compare that with in the capitalist society, is who can control most of the capital. Who can control most of the capital, or who says they have more ideas, who is more powerful. And it's a more of a predatory way of doing things. Domination, again, is the same thing. It just comes from colonialism, it comes from slavery, it comes from imperialism. Let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Coco.
Yeah, Brother Coco.
Brother
Coco. Brother Coco.
I'm listening, brother.
Where does socialism come from, as far as you know?
It's a descendant of communalism. It comes from communalism, my brother, regardless of how we can place it. So and say whoever articulated it, we can argue that Marx and Engels or whoever articulated it. But
it's fine. I want to ask you. So, so are you familiar with the argument that socialism is a development from capitalism? Are you familiar with that argument?
I don't know about that, but what I can tell is socialism is a direct confrontation of exploitation, hence a direct confrontation with capitalism.
I heard you. That's why I'm asking you. Sorry, I heard you. That's why I'm asking you these questions. So, The paragraph we've read, the first top paragraph says, whereas capitalism is a development by refinement from slavery and feudalism.
Yeah.
So what this passage is not making clear, right, is that
Yes.
the reason for the pursuance of socialism in Western Europe was the understanding that socialism, just like feudalism, is a refinement from slavery, if you like, or serfdom, if you like. Sorry, that capitalism is a refinement from feudalism. Similarly, the argument was that socialism will also develop by refinement from capitalism. That was the argument. The argument within the African context, where there was no capitalism, is a different argument. Yeah. That's why it has been argued that there is no such thing as African socialism. You see?
Thank you.
So that's why I'm asking you whether you are familiar with that literature. So if you're not familiar with that literature, please.
I'm not familiar with it, but I'm not surprised. They will be arguing against socialism because they always want to advance capitalism, isn't it?
No, it's not the argument against socialism, brother. So what I'm saying is, familiarize yourself with that literature. I will send you something to look at. But yeah, the argument is that socialism arises or will develop out of capitalism. So when you see the welfare state in a capitalist society, it is not an aberration, right? So let's all be clear. It is not an aberration that you have a welfare state in a capitalist society which mimics socialist practice. There is a reason for it within the structure of capitalism itself. So I just would draw that to our attention. Now, when you come to the African context, where we didn't have capitalism on the kind of scale that it was in European societies, then as Brother Coco has argued, you can say that socialism can emerge from communalism directly. But as Nancy has pointed out, if socialism emerges from communalism alongside freedom and liberty or laissez faire, it will cause confusion because of the possibility of inequalities, economic inequalities emerging. And you would understand why Nkrumah, therefore, is saying that if you then have a socialist society, you must then think about centralizing things so you can control it. So I'm drawing this to your attention. So if we are not familiar with that literature, let's all get familiar with that literature. Let me pause there, Brother Pigeon. Over to you.
Thank you. Brother Coco, is there anything you want to add? Okay. Let's go to Sister Portia. Ready for us, Sister Portia? Then I'll go to Brother Benny. Sister Portia?
Okay, thank you so much. Pardon the background noise. All right, I will start as usual with each paragraph and then give my thinking afterwards. So this is what the paragraph says, not my thinking. Paragraph 1, sentence 1, capitalism is from enslavement, which is from feudalism. Sentence 2, socialism is not capitalism, capitalism being exploitative. Sentence 3 is a repeat of sentence 1 and 2 that precedes it. And then in paragraph 2, there are 6 sentences. The first sentence says, communalism is the social political ancestor of socialism. The next sentence, sentence 2, says basically there's some common characteristics between socialism and communalism, as are there some commonalities between capitalism, enslavement, and feudalism. Sentence 3, in a society, a person or one can see the principles of communalism there. Sentence 4, in a not formalized way. So in unstructuredness, communalism in that society can appear or can be seen as chaotic. Even in a formalized way, in a structured way, where profit becomes a focus and communalism, where profit becomes a focus and communalism's coreness is not prioritized, classism and its effects occur. And arguably, some examples of that are World Economic Forum, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, and then not arguably, examples of that are economic injustices, political intolerances, monopolies, and multinationals. Sentence 5, contemporarily, socialism could be seen as furthering communalism's coreness. And then the last sentence, socialism or social organization is guided by communism. Noted, socialism adopts procedures and methods, so the tools, and these tools are linked to populations and industries. So here is my thinking. I want to go back to a comment that Prof. Kwame said about the proof that Africans enslaved other Africans. This is it's still to date, and I say to date because last year there were heated discussions about this in some of the groups I was in at the time, about how did Africans participate in enslavement of other Africans, and then others saying this was not the case. What I would add to that kind of discourse and be minded of the facts, and my stance is that there are some Africans who did participate in the enslavement of other Africans, our ancestors. In the context of contemporary societies, what becomes lost is it always pits us against each other. You can see that very much now in how some philosophers or some academics are pushing back with the newly arising terms of foundational Black Americans, saying that they are just nothing more than Republicans, American Republicans in disguise. Now, I'm a foundational Black America, and in my definition of that is someone who can trace their ancestry, their lineage, to my ancestors who were trafficked from Africa and then enslaved in North America, specifically United States of America. And I am not a Republican. So I just want to lay caution that we remember, as soon as someone says, well, you sold us, it connects to that rift that is to break us away and to not unify. And to Queen Sister Tapua's point, as she has said over and over, we are to unify. This is a practical way of us surmounting capitalism. And then the next 2 points, and I'll wrap up, is us, Africa, and its diaspora.
Mr. Posha,
Yes,
let me interject so you can respond, and then we move on. So, so the argument that some African monarchs were involved in slavery and does not imply, and I think this is what you are getting at, it doesn't imply that Africans started the transatlantic slave trade.
Correct. And also what
because there is no evidence. There is no evidence anywhere, and nobody has brought that up, where Africans are said to have told Europeans, "I have brothers and sisters for sale, come and buy them." No one
No.
has shown us any such evidence. In fact, the evidence we have is that it was Europeans who initiated it in the palace of Queen Victoria, where she explicitly okayed it and then granted charters later on to slave to slave trading organizations. So I am agreeing with you that if you don't handle it carefully, so I'm agreeing with that. We don't handle it carefully. It may sound like we are saying that Africans initiated slavery and sustained it, whereas that is, as you're saying, that is not true.
Prof, I need to clarify, and thank you always for challenging me.
Yes, please.
I need to clarify. We must remember the papal bull. You remember I said some weeks ago that I would argue that capitalism is a political, economic, and religious theory, because we know that religion was used to justify the horrors of enslavement. What I was trying to say is that, yes, there is evidence that there are some of our ancestors, we all come from Africa, who, on this call, who participated in the horrific system of enslavement, the trafficking of our ancestors. We know that. In every species of people, we know there are sellouts. We know that there are people who will put profit over people. That is not me denying it. What I am trying to caution us on is not in this contemporary setting of where capitalism, racial capitalism, has infiltrated nearly all of the world and said it is the only solution to progress, which is an illusion, which is a fallacy, that we do not let that stop our unification, because that is the coreness, as Queen Sister Tapua and others have continually emphasized, is how we will break down such a horrific system. So we don't get into battles as me, a foundational Black American, saying, well, hey, you over there in Ghana, you sold my ancestors, so all I got to do is think about my people in United States of America. That's what the racial capitalist system or systems wants us to do.
Yes. So
agree and not unify.
Yeah. So building on, so you and I agree there. So building on what you said then, as a foundational American, I was going to ask you what the term means. You've explained it. We would like you, when you're speaking to your fellow foundational Americans, because they keep saying, I've heard it a few times, we didn't see the slave ship there. We didn't see the ships coming to rescue us. Nobody came for us, which is part of the argument that Africans didn't care about their enslaved brethren. And so if they did care, why didn't they send ships to come and liberate us? So when you are speaking to them, please tell them that if they talk like that, it's part of this enslavement argument. The Africans were, if you like, part of it, and therefore, since they didn't care, we should not be united with them. So we used to be Afro-Americans. Now we are not Afro-Americans. We became Black Americans. We are no more Black Americans. Then we used to be African Americans. We are no more African Americans. Now we are foundational Americans. So the evolution of the language itself is mirrors the evolving sense of identity of our brothers and sisters like yourself. Am I making sense, Mr. Posha?
Yes, you are. Prof, I want to go to my 2 points. I still want to just wrap up this point. It's a huge topic, as we know, and perhaps there could be a discussion on that at another forum. What I will say is there are no winners in Africa's separation. There are no winners in Africa's separation, and there are no fingers to be pointed at any of Africa and its diaspora to say you're the reason for the problem. And I know what I have just said sounds quite controversial. What I imply by that is, for example, when you just talked about the names, I had said on a call to someone when someone was saying, hey, which name are you now? And I said, let us give the grace. When someone says they're Black British, there's a grace extended there. When someone says they are Jamaican, Black Jamaican, though they don't say Black Jamaican, but when they say they're Jamaican, there's a grace extended there. But there is something in the water when Africans, people who can trace their ancestry back through Africa, when they are in the United States and then they want to do names. And by the way, African American was not a grassroots names that Black people said they wanted to be called. That very much was a class determined name. When now people are saying foundational Black America, and I know some people are saying that foundational Black Americans are operatives. I've heard that as well. I want us to give people the grace in this horrific system to go through that process or processes of trying to identify themselves. We lost our languages, we lost our spiritualities, we lost our land, we lost our communalism. So maybe now when I say one day I was African American and one day I was a Black American and now I'm a foundational Black America, it could be just me trying to find myself. So I just want to say that. My other 2 points is that our Africa in its diaspora, we have, because of this brutality system that we talked about, racial capitalistic system, we still, even the most educated of us, which we saw, for example, with Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, we have this longing to be accepted in the racial capitalist system. So we know it's bad for us, yet we want to be accepted. And this is the illusion of capitalism, that it will accept us if we have the degrees, if we speak the languages, if we have the religions, if we rally for it. It will never accept anyone in its system because to us, we are the exploited. And then how this goes, an example of that non-acceptance is Haiti, who, as we know, is the first Black republic, arguably the second oldest republic to the United States of America in the Western Hemisphere. Look at what Haiti is suffering to date for daring to say, we dare to self-govern. And then even Ethiopia, which we rally about not being colonialized, we know that capitalism very much is in Ethiopia. And then the last 2 points is to just go again about recently we saw that Mr. Yoweri Museveni has claimed victory according to the voter leaders there in the country. I didn't say their name correctly, pardon me that. And now Bobby Wine is saying that he will continue to fight. I gave the point last week of he said he wanted United States of America intervention, yet he would want Ugandans to govern. And this goes now to the point, which is you may have heard of this young man who is now kindly showing the beauty of Africa. I Show Speed. And he is touring Africa. And he has now got 50 million subscribers. And on essence, that is good. He is Black American. He is now traveling to Africa, showing stuff that people who are of his 50 million subscribers have never seen. Now, how is he doing this? He is using the satellite internet service, Starlink. So again, the capitalist system, for whatever it gives us, him showing the beauty of Africa to 15 million people, arguably, it triple, quadruples, quintuples back and takes more. Starlink arguably in Africa is not a good thing, as is not a good thing the United States of America military bases. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sister Portia. And I think because we are having maybe 23 minutes to go, 27 minutes to go, and we still have a list of members who haven't contributed. Permit me to go around. Sister Nancy, I can take I see your hand has been up maybe a minute, but I'm going to Brother Benny after you. And then from Brother Benny, I'll go to Sister Ida, then Elder Sam, in that order. Sister Nancy?
Yes, so I just want to add from my perspective, as far as the question of identity, I don't qualify my name. I am African. I was not born in Africa. I've only set foot on the continent once, but there's no question in my mind that my identity is African. I don't need other words to qualify that. I also am really disturbed when I hear that, people in the US are different than African people in South America or Central America. We all got here, on the same ships. And most of us landed in the Caribbean or South America, and we were then transported to North America. We're one people. And I think it's really, really important that we, look at this whole question of identity. I understand that some people feel that they need an intermediate identification or label. I don't, and I don't think everybody is in the same place on this question. So I just want to make it clear, as far as I'm concerned, I'm African. I also want to mention W.B. Du Bois, who was born 3 years after enslavement ended in this country, and certainly went through some transformations in his thinking. He started out, I think, at embracing this concept of the talented tenth and capitalism being acceptable, but he came to explicitly embrace socialism, and made contributions toward socialism being an integral part of Pan-Africanism, as distinguished from the way some people view Pan-Africanism as just kind of a back to Africa or kind of cultural movement. But this class content was very important to Du Bois. So I think, like all of us, he went through, transformation and growth in his thinking over the course of his lifetime. But by the time he died, he had completely rejected capitalism. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Benny?
What I want to say has been a little bit diverted, but just to say something brief, because I don't know how to connect it with the two previous comments. But I wanted to link to Brother Coco when he talked about the aspect of planning, which my thinking into the text is when social organization, which guided by the principles underlying communism, adopt procedures and measures made necessary by demographic and technological developments, in fact, takes me back to a study that I did on some certain African countries and their failure actually in the post-independent era, which comes out to planning. But here, what I like about Nkrumah, because he was the only person I saw that he initiated things based on some measure of planning into some specific terms, in terms of 5-year, 10-year, long-term kind of plan, which actually was absent. So, but then some of these countries have adopted socialism, but then from this test, socialism has to premise itself in the context of planning based on communism in the sense that communism have certain features which would actually enable socialism to actually stand on its own legs and feet. So what I don't want to talk, as I said, I don't want to talk long, but for me, we need to revisit the role of planning in where we need to adopt socialism, which is the most common thing that we can do, because I'm sure that people are not going to talk about conscientism. But then, if even we go in socialism and we look at various socialist countries, East Africa here mostly, and even West Africa, if you take Mali, Guinea, and the rest, it's quite pathetic what we saw in the post-independent era, despite the undermining by the imperialists and everything. Yet I think much of the failures came because that we just took socialism. But then socialism alone cannot stand based on this test unless it goes with something else to reshape it and to make it more contextually valid and very useful also. Thank you.
Brother Benny. Yeah, Brother Benny.
Yes, Brother Kwame.
So
Prof.
if we take a few steps back to Sister Nancy's interjection earlier, where Sister Nancy made clear that planning takes place all the time. So there's planning going on, right? Now, the planning that Nkrumah undertook, and let's remember Nkrumah, once he was in office from 1951, he was planning. Every policy of the CPP government was based on a plan. The last one was the 7-year development plan, which, as I explained, world economists came to Accra and said it was okay. It was Sir Arthur Lewis who didn't like it very much, but we know what happened with respect to Sir Arthur Lewis. Those planning documents were all tangible documents, right? If you go to the museum, the Ghana Museum, opposite the Catholic Church in Asylum Down, if you go to that building and you ask, they will show you the 7-year development plan. I've gone there, I've asked for it, I've seen it myself. So these were tangible documents. What Sister Nancy is saying, or was saying, is that this planning exists everywhere, including in capitalist societies. It's just that the way the plan that they make are not always visible. So here is the link to what your center stands for. The African Center for Intangible Phenomenon. What about the intangible phenomenon of planning, of plans that we never see?
Bro Kwame, you see, I will not agree when he said that planning was going on. But actually, you brought my attention to that, and I remember I shook my head. You see, because I studied, Bro Kwame, I took each country by country, the 54 countries on the continent, studied the pattern of independence and what happened around the period of independence. And it's pathetic. That planning was just, even to date, until I came to South Africa, but there was an excuse.
But Benny, I'm agreeing with you.
There's an excuse that there are no policy analysts. But those of us who train ourselves into policy analysis and the rest, they never even minded us.
Yeah, Benny, I'm not saying that. And Sanasi didn't say that the African countries were planning. What we are saying is that planning goes on. But if you take the countries that you've mentioned, the African countries, somebody was planning for them. That's the point.
Okay.
The World Bank and the IMF and the Bretton Woods institutions and the capitalist elites were planning for Africa.
Obviously.
That is the point.
I will send you my chapter to
read. Which is why the African Center for Intangible Phenomena must look at the intangible phenomenon of the lack of planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Brother Kwame?
Yes, please carry on.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Sister Ida. Sister Ida?
Brother Pigeon.
Yes, Elder Sam. I'll go to Sister Ida and then you, but you can go ahead, Elder Sam, please.
Yes, I see. She says she's still unable to talk.
No, now it's your turn. Thank you for that. Now it's your turn, Elder.
Thanks. And brothers and sisters, after it's confused, but I think I always rely on basics. And for me, in this text, I really see.
Brother Sam, hold on.
Hello?
Brother Sam, hold on. You said you started by saying you were confused. Clarify what the confusion is first, and then proceed. Thank you.
I think briefly, if enough, I don't dwell on that one. When we talk about laissez-faire, and we from the text it says, whereas in communalism you will see laissez-faire. I had a real problem with that, and for me, I have always seen this aspect laissez-faire in a capitalist state and capitalist economy, and the way they control and run their affairs, and that's where I had confusion. But I think to track, and as I was going to make my own inputs,
okay,
I think the important thing for me, and this is where I always hide myself or try to hold on to, is the fact that we have already agreed from previous studies that what we are experiencing now is what we can call modern slavery. And that's why I today wanted to come from the point where somebody said the cruelty that slavery and colonialism did to Africans was to destroy the memory of what they were before foreign contact. If we erase what we were and we are in limbo, therefore we don't see all these things. And that's why Kwame said you can trace capitalism as the child of slavery, because slavery has just modernized, slavery has just refined to give us this current state of affair, which we can call modern slavery. But he goes then and says the other negation of this, it's socialism. And guess what? He doesn't say socialism is the child of communalism. He doesn't say that. He says socialism is the modern defense of communalism. I think for me it is very fundamental. And for me, those are the critical aspects. You know, in our current situations, whether they do planning, they do control to only ensure that those maximum profits go to the masters, and we remain. And that is why in a country like South Africa, we have what they call food wastage. Despite all the planning that is there, and as you say, that it is because the plan is orchestrated to produce the result that they want. 10 tons of food goes to wage, or 1 million tons of food go to wage in South Africa. And meanwhile, we say millions of South Africans go hungry, and some of them die of hunger. So that is the paradox of what Nkrumah is trying to bring out in these passages. Thank you.
Brother Sam, Brother Sam, you see, we won't have time today to delve into it, but I feel that your exposition of that confusion will also help all of us. But I don't think we'll have time for it today. So when we come next week, please, you need to explain, because I think you make a very good point.
Thanks.
Thank you. Back to Brother Pigeon.
No, thank you. Sister Amma, are you in a position to speak? I know you said you are not able to speak initially. I'm just confirming because I'm almost clearing my list. If not, let me go to Brother Windhoek. Brother Windhoek. Brother Windhoek? Okay, Brother Windhoek is silent. Let's go to, I know Sister Khadija has just joined us now, so welcome, Sister Khadija. We have our sister with the name LME. Who is this? Sister Amma? Who was speaking? Sister Khadija or Sister Amma? Okay.
Just said greetings. So I said,
Oh, Sister Khadija, greetings and feel most welcome. Sorry, I know you've joined us late, but thanks for joining. Oh, we have Sister Malin. Sister Malin, I know you've also joined us late. Do you have anything to share in regards to the paragraph? I know it was read when you're not available. But let me know if you have it as far as the paragraph is concerned. Sister Malin?
like you said, I wasn't it was read. So, what is the difference between capitalism and democracy? Because they're always telling us every country have democracy, and we're talking about capitalism. I'd like to know what is the difference between both of them, if there's any difference.
Okay, thank you for that question. I think Brother Kamil will come to that question as we move towards the end of the conversation. So that is noted, Sister Malin. Let me take any other comment in regards to the text, then I'll get it to Brother Kwame to and anybody who is willing actually to respond to that. Now, LME, can you let us introduce yourself? I think you're new to your class, and maybe let us know who you are. LME, B, and I know if you have anything you want to share with us, let me know now. LMEB. We rarely allow members with such names, but let me know. I'm just moving to finalize my list. Okay. Back to you, Sir Windhoek. Sir Windhoek, once again, are you able to speak? Okay. Okay, then. Brother Kwame?
Yes.
Now you can come in probably to respond to Sister Marin's question.
What's Sister Marin's question again? I missed it.
Sister Marin is asking the difference or the relationship between capitalism and democracy.
So capitalism is the economic system. Democracy is a political system. That's a difference.
So is
one is economics, one is politics. So one is saying, what should society produce? How much should it produce? Where should it produce it? When it produces it, who should have what that is produced? Yeah. So that is what capitalism addresses. Who produces, where they produce, how they produce, for whom they produce, and where to produce. Democracy is who governs, how they get to govern, what decisions they should make, or they declare they will make before they become the government, etc., etc. So one is politics, the other is economics. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody who hasn't shared their thinking and they wish to share their thinking now? Because we are having a few minutes to go.
Pigeon, Sister Khadija hasn't spoken. I don't know if she spoke. Sister Khadija hasn't spoken. LMEB,
no, she just said
not sure who he or she is, hasn't spoken. And
I've called their name, Brother Kwame. I've called their name, and they were not able to speak. But Sister Khadija just passed her greetings, Brother Kwame.
Sorry?
Sister Khadija unmuted and just said hi to members, or she can speak to her for herself. Sister Khadija?
It's not Sister Khadija's first time, by the way. She's been here before, hasn't she? She's been here a few times. Sister Khadija.
Brother Kwame?
Yes?
Sister Khadija
She was
unmuted
speaking,
herself.
but she
Maybe
was
she...
muted, so we didn't hear what she said.
Oh, okay. Yes, I came in a bit late and I have to leave and come again. Just quickly then, when you said about, was it capitalism? Are you saying that it's like it's controlled by private owners that decide the industry and the trade of countries?
Thank you. LME?
Can you repeat what Sister Khadija said? I didn't understand because her line was so bad.
Hold on, let me take this off. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yes, in regards to actually Marlene's question, and he was talking about trade, they decide where to go, who gets what, or whatever. Are you talking about the elite or the government? Who are you talking?
Oh, is that question for me, Sister? Sister, is that Sister Marlene or
Yes,
Sister?
it is. You, yes.
Sister Khadija or Sister Marlene?
Khadija,
All right. So, is the question for me, Sister Khadija?
Yes, for you, brother, you.
Oh, yeah. No, Sister Marlene was asking, what's the difference between is economics? That's my understanding, economics and democracy, or capitalism and democracy, one of them anyway. And I was explaining that the capitalist system is essentially an economic system that answers certain fundamental questions that every society has. Because every society has to make decisions as to what it produces, where it produces what it produces, who should do the production, and then when it produces, who it should produce for. So that was my answer to that. But democracy is about governance. Who governs society? Who controls the political system? So that's what I was explaining. So in terms of democracy, the questions are fundamentally the same. Who is in government? For whom do they govern? Where is the government based? Yeah, and so on and so forth. Does that help, Sister Khadija?
Yes, it helps. That's okay.
Thank you.
Is this conversation continuing next week, or is it a different subject?
Sorry, your line is breaking. I didn't hear clearly what you said. What did you say?
Yes. Is this conversation continuing next week?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, yes. I have a question for Brother Sam, as you remember I said. Brother Sam, we need him to clarify that line and because he has lots of experience. I mean, Brother Sam is one of those who, as you know, are part of the PAC. They've been on the ground. They've seen it all. So when he's saying something, we need to listen and understand what he's saying. So yeah, so definitely, Sister Khadija, we will continue part of this discussion next week. Thanks. Brother Pigeon, back to you.
No, thank you. We are having 3 minutes to go. Sister Portia, your hand is up. I want to give it back to Brother Kwame. For you.
Thank you, Brother Pigeon. Prof. Kwame, I want to tell you, I think someone is not muted.
Yeah,
Kindly mute, please.
I'm just checking. You continue. I will mute it. Whoever that is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you continue. Thanks.
Thank you. Prof, I want to challenge you with democracy, and perhaps we can pick up next week because it is so critical. You know, we talked about infiltration, and then King Brother Coco, he mentioned another word. He didn't say infiltration, but it's around the same line, this system. And I can tell for certain one of the infiltrations with Africa and its diaspora has been these words: democracy, rule of law, freedom of press.
Sister Portia, we hear you. Please hold it there. Like you
Please.
said, let's continue next week because of the time. Yeah, but you are spot on. Yeah, you are spot on. Thank you. And
okay, comrades.
I mean,
thank you very much.
The IMF and the World
Hope you
Bank
can hear me.
are in our ministries of finance. Brother Pigeon, yeah, thank you. Let's go back to Brother Pigeon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, comrades, brothers and sisters. Brother Kwame, I'll take it back to you for the 2 minutes now that you know you're the lead facilitator in this session, please.
No,
You're
thank
the
you.
chair.
You see, yeah, no, Brother Pigeon, thank you. That's a problem with chairing. When you're chairing, you can't really contribute. But the problem is because I am a resource person, I'm interjecting, chairing then becomes a bit heavy for me, which is why it'd be nice to have others chair, whilst I also just sit in and listen. Yeah. So hopefully I will not chair next week. Thank you all for coming. All of you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Brother Pigeon. Yeah, announcements and then we can close. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Brother, check for me the topic for next week, this Saturday, as I'm trying to make the announcement.
Yeah, you talk whilst I check.
Yeah.
You talk whilst I check.
Yeah, comrades, as you have realized, we have never skipped any paragraph in this book. So interestingly, we have been reading each paragraph from page 1 to page 69 where we are. We are left with around 60 pages or even 50 pages. And topics come in as Kwame Nkrumah puts them as we come across. So we are in chapter 3 of this book, Socialism, and we are almost ending chapter 3. We'll be getting to chapter 4 soon. And next week, probably, I'm seeing we'll be looking at revolution and reform on socialism. It will be a very interesting conversation where you see Marx is coming in and the rest. So we are still looking at socialism, and we've been looking at capitalism in the past. And I know we are still having the conversation that will be coming forward either between socialism, capitalism, reforms, and revolution. So we're looking forward to have you all come next Thursday so that you can continue this. For your information, all our recordings of our sessions are always available and uploaded on our YouTube channel on a weekly basis for the purposes of memory storage and education, and reach out to many others. Just to notify you, our recordings have reached out to over 230,000 impressions for the last almost 2 to 3 years, with over 10,000 views. And we request members to continue subscribing to our YouTube channel where you can get real-time updates when we do our uploads. We equally have our broadcast list. If you want to be part of our broadcast list, always get in touch with me, where you can get direct updates, reminders, and information in regards to any of our sessions. We equally have a very slim WhatsApp group where we ensure that only members available are members who attend our sessions. And if they fail to be active for a period of time, we eject them from the WhatsApp group. It's not a must for you to be part of our WhatsApp group to be part of this class. What we value most is our virtual classes. So this Saturday, we'll have a conversation on the unification of Africa. Brother Kwame will share the topic. On Monday, we do a review of the book.
Yeah, the topic is, I put it in the chat, by the way.
Yes.
It's on liberation, the unfinished liberation project, which I think syncs nicely with what Sister Portia said about democracy. So liberation, the unfinished liberation project.
Thank you. On the basis of the topic shared, if you wish to make up a presentation, if you wish to have a special time to speak to the topic, or if you wish to be given some preference to speak to the topic, we will give you that time. So please get in touch with me or prepare any of your presentation. Our conversation are always open, so we don't have special guest speaker somewhere. It's us conversing, speaking to each other, and trying to brainstorm and sharing our thinking. So if you wish to speak to that topic, please get in touch with me so that you can prepare your presentation and be given time to present. All our sessions and our classes takes place between 6 p.m. GMT to 8 p.m. GMT Accra. Having said that, thank you very much. And yes, let's meet again this Saturday or next Thursday as we continue the reading. Bye-bye for now.
Can I speak to Sister Portia and Brother Pigeon after the class, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So, Sister Portia, you've put 2 links in the chat.
Yes, sir.
To do with